broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
That's just the way it is.
We wanted to end things on a happy note.
Things will never be the same.
Do you remember when
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to American Crime After Show. We're on episode 10, and it is the second to last episode, so I'm kind of sad about that. I am your host, Lindsay Douglas. You can follow me on Instagram at Twitter and Doug Ventures. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as iTunes to download our weekly podcast. And say hello to my wonderful panel here.
Hi,
tonight.
guys. Tonight's the night. Hi, guys. You like that singing? Erica Davis here. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Erica Renee D. How to think about it?
Hey guys, my name's Jon Manganello. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Johnny Mangs or at
Periscope.
Or on his website.
I don't have Periscope.
Shameless marketing on John's part here.
But I have been doing shameless marketing for www.jonmanganello.com, not to be confused with Joe Manganello, who's marrying Sofia Vergara.
Oh. Don't confuse them. It's very confusing.
Okay.
All right, so tonight, I feel like with it being the second to last episode, we started to see a lot of things being tied up. And some of the stories were a little bit happier. I wanted to kind of start off with talking about Tony and Alonzo and their family, because that was like a happier note. With all of the drama going on, I feel like tying it up, and I feel like he got a second chance, being able to get out of juvie. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have several thoughts. I think, first of all, that was sort of a happy ending in the midst of this tragic tale that we've been watching for the past 10 weeks. I'm happy to see that the family has sort of come together through this terrible thing that's happened. And I'm also happy that Tony is off and is a free man walking. I also feel like it's going to be hard for Alonzo to find a job. He sold his shop. Now what? I hope. I mean, he has a lot of experience, and I think he could get hired. But even if he is hired, he'll probably be working a minimum wage job and raising 2 children and possibly be sending them to college soon.
It's like a pride thing, I feel like, with him as well. Having to go work under someone when he was the boss.
I agree. I also loved the moments between, well, really just Jenny's monologue. It was so sweet the entire time. I was thinking to myself, if you don't have yourself a sibling with whom you're close, you're really missing out. It literally brought tears to my eyes. I mean, I don't know if you guys all have siblings, but
yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, the entire time she was talking and taking up for her brother and just really laying it all on the table, I just kept thinking, like, this is such an example of just love and compassion for someone that you care so deeply about. I cried. I teared up.
It was sweet. That was a sweet moment.
We were silent. I was watching. It was very sweet, very compassionate to have that.
It was interesting to me that Alonzo's teacher and guidance counselor wouldn't, or excuse me, not Alonzo, Tony's teacher and guidance counselor told Alonzo he would not speak up in Tony's defense in court.
That made me mad. He's like, oh, well, the damage and the surgeries that he need. And I was like, yeah, obviously he went overboard, but he beat up his sister. Like that man beat up a girl. Like that's just like so disrespectful. And are they just overlooking that? Like,
I think that Alonzo and his family have sort of this tainted image in the town right now.
I think so too.
And it's unfortunate, but I'm happy to see that things went okay without non-familial representation in the court.
Yeah, because even though Jenny's testimony to the lawyer or to the court was so sweet, because it's a family member, I was unsure also about whether or not it would work. But I mean, you can't watch that and not just have your heart cry.
It was sweet.
Yeah,
but and I think the reason his teacher, Tony's teacher, didn't comply to take up for him or to be a good character witness is because at that point, no one really knew. No one really knew why Tony did what he did. Even though Joaquin did beat up a girl, no one knew why Tony...
Oh, did they not know that?
I don't think anyone knew until Jenny said in court, this is why Tony beat Joaquin up, or whatever his name is. So maybe his teacher said, I won't be a character witness because, you know, Tony just beat a random guy up for no reason. So that's I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's what I think.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I didn't even think about that part of it. That would kind of make more sense.
So,
because it was kind of under wraps,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
There was a nice moment when Alonzo says that he sold his shop to the lawyer that they had hired, or the attorney that he had hired. And this was in front of Tony. And Tony says, what? This is him finding out this information. Why did you do that? And Alonzo turns to Tony and basically says, I'm trying to get you out.
For you.
And in that moment, Tony softened up a little bit. And I really do think, I mean, maybe this is just the romantic in me, but I like to think of these, like, this is like maybe one happy ending in this otherwise pretty tragic tale.
Absolutely. I agree. And it's cool to see that, you know, some people do deserve and do get second chances, you know, even when they make mistakes. And I feel like we already were like beginning to see this family moving on, rebuilding, like learning from their mistakes. You know, it wasn't going to hold them back. It was going to kind of like push them forward into the next chapter of their lives.
We'll see.
We'll
and
see.
I'm glad there's another episode to see what happens after that, because they're going to get sort of this ending in episode 11 and maybe some more airtime.
You never know. With TV, you don't know. How are they going to change it? But bringing it back to Barb and Russ, their interactions were not as happy. I mean, I felt like Barb is... she almost opened up to Russ in a way that she hasn't all season. What did like, you know, did you guys see that at all?
Totally.
Yeah, I thought that Barb was finally becoming empathetic, but then towards the end of the episode, or at the beginning of the episode, I thought she was becoming sensitive.
Yes.
You know, I thought that she was really starting to get a grip with reality, and even taking it back to a couple of episodes where she asked someone, I forgot, I think Nancy, she said, am I prejudiced? And then this episode when the prosecutor or whoever it was, it announced to the parents, to Barb and Russ, that Carter might be released. She didn't overreact. She just said, okay, internalized it and, you know, got up to like just to walk away from it. So I thought, okay, now she's finally getting a grip on reality. But then towards the end is as if she's completely washing her hands. So this is a full, I don't know, progression of Barb. I don't know how to take it yet. I don't know if this is her beginning of her mourning process.
Yeah, which it could be, very well could be.
You know, like maybe this is the first time she's actually allowed herself to feel.
Yeah, I think it definitely could be the beginning of her mourning process. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
I also was thinking as I was watching, Barb is changing, obviously. I mean, she's being quiet for once. She's not fighting. And look at how much damage she did by being such a ruthless, cruel person in the first 9 episodes. And I think her being a little bit more mellow and being a little more accepting of what's going on in her reality, as unfortunate as it is actually allowing her to cope better. She gave the gun back to Russ, which I thought was a great move. She was civil with Russ. They actually sort of seem like kind of like sweet to each other.
Yeah, he was so concerned.
And then Mark mentioned at the end of the episode that he never felt that Barb truly got over Russ, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was interesting, too, because we've never, even though they were married for however many years they were married, we've never on a panel, as a panel, have acknowledged that they could still have some feelings for each other. I was like, what are you talking about? They still like each other?
That broke my heart with Mark and Barb. When when she it's like he didn't love her. Like he was like, oh, I can look past it, but the way she was like, are you ever gonna love me? Like I was like, oh, how could you say that?
Of course, that's so strange.
Like I was like, that's like your mother.
But
like,
there's so much damage. I mean, this family, all of these families. Whew, I would never trade places with, obviously. But
like everyone has their issues, but that's like this family portrayed in the show is definitely next level. Like, wow. Like I can't even pretend to imagine the kind of like heartache and heartbreak that they've had to deal with as a family.
Let's see here. What else did I say? Because I had so many thoughts. Oh, Russ to Mark said, do you want to be me or do you want to be better than me? Because if you want to be better than me, pack up and leave and don't speak to your mother and don't deal with this all that's going on.
Yeah.
But if you want to be better than me, you have to stay and deal with the BS.
Yeah.
And I think that's so wise. Like there's an apology, and then there's an apology and a lifestyle change. And Russ has done both of those things. I think
so too.
He's saying,
he really has.
And then he goes beyond that and tries to make sure other people don't fall into his trap. So he has apologized. He has proven himself by changing his life. And he is now saying, don't become me, to his son, which I think is really great. I mean, that's
to acknowledge your
mistakes and apology.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. To acknowledge your mistakes and own up to it, you know, like that's like true leadership, and it's something you can actually look up to, and I believe like take something from it.
I think Mark has been so scarred though. I mean, his brother's dead. His sister-in-law is essentially a vegetable, not really, but almost. His mom is a raging bigot, and his dad was never a man to him. So I don't think that any amount of Russ insisting that Mark try to be better and do better and stay here and deal with it is going to resonate with Mark. And that's really sad, because even though Russ is saying to be better than me, you have to sit here and deal with it, Mark is going to do and follow the example that Russ set for him his entire life. And so again, we see how everything in families can be cyclical. Like Russ is saying, be better, do better, stay here. Mark is like, peace out. Barb, I don't really love you. You know, I'm disconnecting, I'm detaching. And I don't know, that's a very, very sad circumstance. I want Mark to do better and to be better.
I know. That just like, and the fact that he didn't show, because he did not show up for court.
He didn't show up for court a couple of episodes
Because Russ
ago.
was saying, in this episode, Russ was saying, I asked Mark to come and he's not here. Like, it's like, even if you are not agreeing with your parents, like you should still, I mean, it's still like your dead brother.
Your brother's
like,
memory.
It's like,
yeah, but you know what? This is a guy, I agree. On one hand, like, yeah, it is his family, blood is thicker than water, but the other thing is he's trying to start a new family and a new life with Rochelle.
That is, yeah.
So I don't really blame him for trying to wash his hands. He tried, and then his mother met the Asian girlfriend or the fiance, and you know, all this stuff was happening and everyone's fighting and it's a big old mess and there's a protest and his mother's this known racist, bigot, horrible human being. Like, I don't blame him for saying, I'm out of here. Wash my hands of this.
See, and of course we've only been shown episodes. So of course, like in the big scheme of things, we don't really know how much time has transpired between the time Mark came home with the wife or the fiance and now. But just from what we've seen, I would want Mark to give more of an effort. I'm not saying that his family particularly deserves it, but I'm a firm believer that you have to deal with your demons to prevent those same demons from coming back to haunt you later on. So, you know, he might be washing his hands of it, but he's going to be so scarred and so negatively influenced by the death and the murder and Barb's, you know, raising him and Russ abandoning them, that who's to say that he won't take this into his future family if he doesn't deal with it appropriately now? So I don't know.
That's a good point.
So,
that is.
So I'm not disagreeing that it's okay for him to wash his hands. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you when you say that, okay, I don't blame him, but I'm just looking at it from another side, from another angle.
I think you're right. It's so tough though, because where's the line?
Yeah.
I mean, his family's crazy compared to like every family has their own stuff to deal with. This family is like, whew.
I know.
But no, I think you're right. I think you do have to deal with your demons. And maybe it's good that Russ is saying, please stick this out.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make him stay and, you know, deal with his mom and like try to understand her a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
So, I want to bring it back now to Carter and Aaliyah.
Oh boy.
Gosh, here we go. Where do we even begin? Like, I am just so, I'm confused by her character. Like, I don't know. Like, I still am having a hard time believing everything that she's said. Like, what if she, like, didn't kill him? I don't know. I just keep having this, like, doubt in my mind.
I'm sorry, Aaliyah or Aubrey?
I mean, Aubrey. I'm sorry. I said Aaliyah.
Yeah. I think there's a good chance, and this is a total 180 from what I said last week, that she is lying.
Oh. Yeah. I'm like still picking that up.
Because the psychiatrist or the psychologist said, you know, I have a feeling you're protecting your boyfriend.
She's already shown to do crazy things, like we've said before.
Well, and the psychologist also thought that when Aubrey made claims that her brother her brother had sexually assaulted her, that was so she could not be seen as a witness.
Yeah, so that wasn't true then.
Well, we don't know.
yet.
And the psychiatrist challenged Aubrey by saying, do you willfully bend the truth to fit your own perspective?
Right.
And again, I'm with you. Like in previous weeks, I was so sure that Aubrey had been molested by her brother, and her testimonies seemed to be so transparent. But now this week, it seems less transparent and more nebulous. Like I don't know what to believe. Although, because I know our foster care system is very tainted, some aspects of it, you know, I hate to make a blanket statement, but I know that a lot of foster kids experience abuse and aren't treated with the utmost respect all the time. I tend to still lean towards believing Aubrey being molested. I do.
By her brother.
By her brother.
I'm just thinking, I think there is a great chance that's true.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But like, I think, I don't know, but just she murdered that guy, or didn't murder him. She cut his throat. Yeah. And like, she's just like chopped off his house arrest anklet. Like, she's done all of these things to protect him. So I feel like it could go either way. Like, she could be on it, or she could totally be lying and just trying to get him off.
I have a feeling we're not going to ever find out the truth.
Yeah, we could not. That's very true.
Unless they do an intense backflash. Excuse me. See, I'm wide awake for today's episode, as you can tell. An intense flashback in the final episode, which would be out of character for the show. I don't think we're ever going to know, and I think that's just something we're going to have to deal with as viewers. I don't think we're going to get that firm answer.
I just can't believe also how cold she is to her family. You know, and
I can believe it.
She is just like, they're so like want to help her, want to be supportive, and she's just like, no, leave, go home. I don't want you here.
Which makes me think that the abuse might have happened.
Oh, that's true.
Unless she just has some sort of vengeance against these people, and she wants to destroy them. I don't see how she could lie about all these different
Unless
things.
the molestation did happen.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But think about how Ruth, her mother, her mother, for all intents and purposes, said, I knew when you were 11 years old that you were basically going to be a train wreck. So when we talk about how Aubrey has this vengeance out against her family, if your mother, when you're 11 years old, already thinks that you're destined for for a path of destruction, even if her mom never told her that, you can see it, you can sense it as a child in how people treat you. So I'm sure that Ruth treated Aubrey completely differently than she treated her brother. So I'm saying all that to say, I don't even know that Aubrey is doing this because I'm not saying that I don't think she's doing this unwarranted. I think that she has been given reasons throughout her life in this family feeling like an outcast because Ruth never really thought anything of her. Maybe because Brian, or is her brother named Brian? I don't know.
I believe it's Brian.
I don't know. I just made that up.
That's okay. No, I think it is that.
Okay. So her brother possibly molested her. Her mom never thought she would amount to anything. Right. So now that she's older and more in control, if you will, of her life, she's like, okay, now the tables have turned. Now I'm going to put you through the hell that I feel like I experienced growing up.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'm just the champion for the underdog and the bad guy, but I'm feeling Aubrey right now. I'm feeling that she's trying to rectify how she felt wrong her entire life.
Absolutely. She's in control. She kept saying control.
Yes, they had that whole bit about control.
Yeah.
Couldn't control herself in foster care, and then when she was adopted. And throughout her brother's abuse, so she wanted control, and now she's controlling this whole trial. So here's what I think. I think that she's lying about killing. She's telling the truth about the abuse.
Okay. So who do you think killed then? Not that that's particularly important, but
Carter.
Yeah.
I mean, given the characters we have, Carter.
Okay.
Who else could it be?
there's no one else. Because it wasn't Hector.
No. Unless it was.
I still think it's Gwen. I don't know.
Gwen. Ooh.
Maybe because one of the prosecutors or cops or whomever today said that was explaining to Russ and to Barb that they were going to start revealing the incendiary things about Matt's past. So one of the things that was very checkered about his past was that he was a drug dealer, that he assaulted women. So this is just my speculation. Maybe he was consistently assaulting Gwen. Maybe that's why she was stepping out and having relationships with other men. Maybe her drug abuse addictions became a problem because she was being abused at home, and maybe she killed Matt in self-defense. But maybe all the other players that we've seen just happened to be there because they were all junkies together. That's a very broad prediction, but I think that Gwen could have something to do with Matt's murder.
You don't know. I mean,
that's true. We've kind of just I mean, I feel like Aaliyah has been a huge. I mean, we've seen her be a huge advocate for Carter, and I just find it interesting that she hasn't told him what's going on. I kept saying that in the show. I was like, why does he know? Has she told him? Why doesn't he know? Like, and he's not asking.
No.
Like, he's not pressing. It's like almost like he knows, but he's not going to press into it and ask. Maybe he has an idea that it could be Aubrey. Because, like, who else would it be from his perspective?
Aaliyah is manipulative.
Yes.
She's using her faith, especially in this episode, to say, I was here for you. I didn't ask questions. No, you don't ask me any questions. She's not doing that for the benefit of Carter. She's
You don't think?
No.
I think so.
Herself, so she doesn't get in trouble.
Why would she get in trouble though?
She doesn't have to be there for Carter freaking out, basically is what I'm saying. So all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed before he finds out.
I don't know. I think that has had good intentions for him.
But
and
why
for her.
why wouldn't she tell him that
maybe
Aubrey
he
is
would
now
freak out.
Yeah, because if Carter finds out that...
But he's gonna find out.
Yeah, but if he finds out so soon after being released, he
could implicate himself or something.
Yeah, like we don't know what he'll do.
Okay.
Fair. But
fair.
I agree with you. She is very manipulative, but she had we have seen how flawed our judicial and our legal system is. And I think that you have to be smart, on top of your A game, and you have to be manipulative to navigate our judicial system.
No, I think that's true.
So I don't fault Aaliyah for being, so strong and firm and consistent and persistent. Because I think if she had not been the person that she has been, then Carter would still have his butt in jail.
True. He'd be in jail for life.
That's true. No one would have been fighting for it.
Yeah.
The moment I really liked with Aaliyah tonight was when she says, I forget who she was talking to. Maybe you guys can help me remember. But she says, the moment they suspected Carter of the murder, they locked him up. Now you have this white girl admitting, I did it, me.
Yeah.
And Carter's still locked up, and the white girl's not.
Yeah.
That was a good point.
It was a
very
good point.
valid good point.
And I think it is another flaw in our justice system, that a black man will be in jail before a white person, no matter what anybody has to say. Even if the white person says, hey, it wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because they're still not able to release Carter. They can't release Carter just yet, obviously.
Yeah.
Paperwork has to be done. Things have to be finished off. But it's a good point.
It's a good point. So yes, I
want to hear your thoughts on this.
No, listen to this man. What he just said is true. And of course, what the things we say here are sometimes overgeneralizations, but at the risk of overgeneralizing, I agree with you.
Well, and they have to be. We have to generalize, because otherwise we'll sit here and not say anything.
Exactly.
Of course, all white people aren't racist. Of course, all black men aren't innocent. But in this case...
But in this case, and I think in the real world, if I'm a black man and you're a white man, or a white person, period, and... you say I did it and I'm in prison. Yes, my black butt is going to stay in prison for a while. That's just the truth. Like, it's just the truth. So there you go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
You heard it first. I mean, this is what we do. We like pressing in, and we like talking about these topics because they're so relevant, and we've said that every week, I feel like.
Yeah.
And
which I want to just add one more thing to piggyback off of you, Jon, which goes back to the point of being a minority in America means that you have to be 100 times better than your white or non-minority counterpart. Because Aubrey, it seems like Aubrey was on drugs and living these alternative lifestyles since she was a teenager. But Carter was middle class, had a good job, had a good family, was perhaps practicing faith or was around people of faith. And he was doing all the things that we say in society you should do. But yet, even though there's a confession from a white girl, he's still in jail. So again, speaks to the point of when you are a minority in this country, you better be 100 times better than your white counterpart.
First of all, I think you have a great point. And then also, I'd like to add to that, I think that's true for anybody who's not a straight white man. I know that when the issue of gay marriage was even a hotter issue than it is now, people were questioning gay parents and how well they raise children. It's like, look at all the straight parents who have raised terrible people, murderers, and drug addicts. I don't, like it's crazy. Like, why all of a sudden do we care about how good parents are when it comes to giving gay people parental rights? It's the same thing about women. If you want to run for president, if you're Hillary Clinton, you're going to get scrutinized for many things that your male counterparts would never get scrutinized
Exactly.
for.
Like this is taking a sidebar, but at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, I think Cecily said, do me a favor, journalists, and not talk about Hillary's looks or what she's wearing, because you would never talk about what President Obama is wearing. You never talk about what President Bush or President Clinton. Oh, he had on a nice suit today with a nice tie.
What is that, Tom Ford?
You would never do that.
It's a distraction.
It's a distraction.
Yeah, it is.
So that's I couldn't agree with you more on that.
White
We're
straight
touching
men
on all topics tonight.
Got it made.
But this is great. I know, it's true. I mean, this is what's.
And I know my privilege. Like, I am a white man in the world. I know I have an easier time. And so the fact that some people want to fight that is crazy to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But
What do you mean by fight? Like who?
Like white straight men who think, no, it's you don't know what I go through. You don't know what it's like. Yeah, you may have issues in your life. There is no denying
everyone
that.
does.
Of course. But you are not going to get racially profiled. You're not going to get you're not going to not get a job because you're white for the most part in a way that a black man will have to deal with.
You're
this
right.
is a big topic, and I know it's a slippery slope here.
It is a slippery.
It's okay though. It's a hot topic.
But this show is making us have these kinds of conversations, and I was thinking about how we've talked so much about you want Barb to realize that she's prejudiced. You want Barb to realize, but I think back about how the ratings for American Crime haven't been the greatest because it's making people look at themselves. And I really hope that people who are watching this don't just say, oh, look at that, look at Carter. He's the typical, stereotypical, black man. Instead of thinking that, I hope they say, let me look at it from a different perspective. I hope that people are not in middle America or in the South or in pockets of America that tend to be less progressive. I hope people aren't looking at this show and sticking to their stereotypes. I hope they're trying to progress as opposed to saying, oh, it's just reinforcing what I already believe. And that's what I'm afraid of. I just went off on a tangent. But
no, I think you're right. I think that it does break down barriers. And I think that's one of the best things about this show is that it shakes expectations. Everybody has prejudices.
Oh gosh.
Bye, phone. I had my phone on the desk so I could look at tweets. But
I think everyone does, and it also stems from people's backgrounds and how they're brought up. And I think living in LA, it's way more open-minded about all types of issues and things than any other place that I've ever visited or been or lived. So I think I sometimes I find myself not even acknowledging some of the things because I just feel like everything that we've kind of talked about is more widely not discussed or more accepted. That's just my thought on it, on LA in general.
My brother was telling me about this study he read that said open-minded people are not, they were trying to track where the most open-minded people are in the country. And some people thought, oh, it's in educated areas. It's in areas with a lot of money. It's here, it's there. And that wasn't the case. Where they find the most open-minded people is in areas where people are closer together. Where
like
people are
cities?
Sharing space. So big cities, towns where there's many different types of people who live in a close community. You see them in the bus, on the subway, things like that. And I thought that was really interesting. And I think this show is sort of forcing us to open up ourselves to many different types of people. And that's what I think it kind of does that. I mean, it does that to me. It's like, oh yeah, like you can be this kind of person, you can be that kind of person, you can be this kind of person. There's so many different ways to be, and no one is innocent and no one is guilty. Everyone is flawed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wow, that was great. That was we just kind of went off on a tangent there, but that's okay. Like, that's what the show has done to us each week, and I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversations. There's one more character we haven't touched on, which was Hector.
Yes.
We haven't forgotten about him. He's kind of screwed down in Mexico.
Yeah, because he was caught lying about the gun.
But again,
but like, was he?
Oh, see,
he was. He admitted.
He was lying. He admitted to his baby's mother that he was lying. Right. But again, this goes back to how our legal system. You have the interrogators, the police, who want to frame somebody. They want to put cases away to be done with it. These officers, and in this particular system, they wanted to accuse Carter. So therefore, they tried to get any accomplice who would say, yes, Carter was the person. Yes, Carter had the gun. But then once Aubrey made the confession, they had to rescind their deal with Hector because they could no longer frame Carter. So it's like, if you're Hector, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. He did what he thought the cops wanted him to do by complying. They got a confession, and now his deal is off the table. And look, I'm not taking up for Hector particularly, but if you are in his position, you've always been, behind the 8 ball in life. You see an opportunity to be with your baby's mother, to be with your child. The people who you trust the most, the cops, are telling you they're going to aid and abet you, and then they turn their backs on you.
It's horrifying.
It is. It's sad.
So,
and they were like, oh, you're done. You're lied. Bye. Like, didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, so
he's disposable to them.
Yeah,
he is.
And then he got deported, and he found out he's not gonna have a jury in Mexico.
Oh my gosh, that was like astounding to me.
Yep, just a judge.
He's like 2 days, like, and he was even like, yeah, this isn't America. I was like, oh my gosh, what if the judge is paid off?
Listen,
it's just
messed up, and there's flaws in the American court system we've seen over the past 10 weeks. But
God, I am thankful to live here.
When he goes to Mexico, excuse me. And he's told he doesn't even get a jury.
Yeah.
That's just a given for us.
Yeah.
It is.
So, yikes.
Yeah.
I feel for Hector's situation again, because I think, like Russ, Hector was really starting to make a true attempt to reform his life. And if that's one thing that prison is supposed to do, it's supposed to reform you.
Yeah.
And I really think that he was moving in the right direction. And
I agree.
Snap of a finger. It's taken away from you.
Like, even his girlfriend, like, coming up, and his daughter. I had high hopes for Hector. I mean, I had a feeling that might happen with Aubrey's confession, but it was very unfortunate. So, should we make any? Do we have any last comments? First of all, about?
No, I do have some.
Wait, some
I'm worried
predictions.
if I say the word, we're just gonna go straight to it.
Can I say one thing before we make a prediction? May I say one thing? I think we saw in this episode, like we've seen throughout the series, a lot of blame being put on everyone else. Now, Hector, of course, got bamboozled by the cops, but he also probably made a lot of questionable decisions in his life to get himself to where he is. And then Alonzo pointing the blame at everyone else. But, it makes me think about the decisions maybe that he made as a parent and
he kind of came around.
That contributed to how Tony ended up being. So I think that we just have to be very careful in life about blaming others for our own indiscretions, because we see that a lot in American crime. Everyone's pointing fingers and everyone's blaming, but very few people, except for us, are actually starting to be introspective.
Well, and I feel like Tony's family, Alonzo, I feel like when he sold his shop, he's kind of was coming to terms with everything and kind of like, that's what I feel like. His is a slower process, but he was kind of like, okay, maybe if some of it was my parenting, I'm going to do everything I can for my son rather than just leave him in juvie, So that was like the one silver lining so far of the show that I noticed. So next week is the season finale of American Crime, which is sad. So can we make any predictions right now about how it'll end?
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
John, go.
I unfortunately think Hector is going to go to jail in Mexico. I think that Barb will remain quieter. I think she's forever been changed. I think that Mark will come around and give his family another try. And I think that Aubrey will go to jail and Carter will freak out about it. Is that everybody?
Yeah, that's everyone.
That's everybody that's important. Okay, I think that Aubrey is not going to go to jail. I don't know how. I think I said last week that everything's so circumstantial with her that she won't go to jail. But going back to my earlier prediction from this episode, I think Gwen has a lot to do with and knows a lot about what happened. I think that she will start coming to. And so her recollections will prove very significant and important to us figuring out who the actual murderer is or isn't. And I think Carter is on the upward trajectory of reforming himself in his life. And I think he'll be on that continued path.
No, I agree. I feel like from the short preview we got and the fact that it's TV, something bad is going to happen to one of the characters. I don't know which one, but I'm hoping that it's not Tony and his family. Like, I hope they're just like out of it all and they'll just continue on their better family path. Yeah, I think Carter is going to freak out and possibly do something. I don't know about Aubrey. I can't decide if like she's going to go to jail or not. And like if she's going to be like, well, she confessed to it, so I guess she would. You know, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. She's a wild card.
She is a wild card. And then I hope that Barb does stay around and that she continues to work on her relationship with her son.
Yeah, I honestly, like you said it when we were watching the show, you said that you like Barb, like you're starting to like her.
Yes, today.
Yeah. And you know what? And I don't dislike her. What I do like about her is that I think we talked about this earlier in our series, but Barb is, I'm glad that we are able to see her prejudices. I'm glad that she's vocal and that she wears her, her prejudices on her sleeve. Because,
she does. She is who she is.
She is who she is.
She's firm. I like that.
She is. And it's more beautiful to see her progress to become a better person than it is for her to hide it, within and then us not be able to see it. I think.
That's a good point.
I agree her bigotedness, if that's the word.
Yeah, I
her
mean,
bigotry.
And she's learning, and that's what we've seen. It's been a slow process, but she's definitely learning. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Make sure you tune in next week. It's our final episode, and we're very upset about it.
We are.
Again, I'm your host, Lindsay Douglas. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Doug Ventures.
I'm Erica Renee Davis, and you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Erica Renee D.
See you guys next week. I'm Jon Manganello. We're going to miss you, but it's okay because you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Johnny Mangs and
then what last thing?
And see what happens after that.
And
at my website, JonManganello.com.
There you go.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
And buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.